what I'm now going to do is to show you a little clip where you see these two insights, kind of the process and the interior condition that make this process work, in a nutshell, in less than 2 minutes. And it's a great example of leading through listening. In the middle of this picture, you see the conductor, Zubin Mehta, one of the greatest conductors of our time. To his left, you see Placido Domingo, one of the greatest tenors of our time. Behind them, a huge orchestra that is actually composed of two different orchestras that perform for the first time together that night. And then that for the first time play together that night. So if you put yourself into the shoes of the conductor for a moment, here's the situation he has to deal with. He has this newly merged organization, and some of you may be familiar with that dynamic. Next to him is the superstar, kind of one individual who is more equal than anyone else. And he has to deal with that dynamic. And then behind him, a huge audience. And all these forces are pulling him in different directions. His job is to take this diverging set of forces and to merge them together into a moment of peak performance. Over the next 2 minutes, put yourself into the shoes of the conductor and watch how he is leading through listening, and pay attention to how the level from which he is listening is shifting throughout the clip.
No puede ser, esa mujer es buena. No puede ser una mujer malvada. En su mirar, como una luz singular, he visto que esa mujer es una desventurada. No puede ser una vulgar sirena que envenenó las horas de mi vida. No puede ser porque la vi rezar, porque la vi querer, porque la vi Los ojos me lloran, no saben mentir. Las malas mujeres la miran así, temblando en sus ojos, dos lágrimas de mí. Y a mí me ilusiona viva luz de mi ilusión, sé piadosa con mi amor, porque no sé fingir, porque no sé callar, porque no sé
For the next 30 seconds or so, take a pen, a piece of paper, and write down what just happened here. What did you notice? What did you notice in this amazing example of leading through listening? Write down whatever you observed, whatever caught your attention. So before showing you the last 30 seconds of this clip again, I want to share with you some observations that I heard from many groups that, like you, kind of watched that clip and then shared some of their observations. The first one is that the beginning of the clip is very different than the end. So in the beginning, it's like highly skilled individuals kind of who interact with each other on a very high level. In the end, now when you look at the last 30 seconds of the clip, kind of the movements are aligned, the breathing is aligned. It looks as if this is not two persons, but one creative field that is manifesting. You know, they are totally synchronized, kind of operate with and from each other. And it looks as one system or one intelligence rather than two persons interacting with each other. So that's kind of, there is a shift happening from the beginning to the end. And what's interesting about that shift is, and what I love about this clip is, that I believe what Zubin Mehta, the conductor, is doing, is embodying, is a physical embodiment of the inner leadership work that we need to do in order to take a group from here to there. And let's just look at that kind of language of his body language a little bit. In the beginning, kind of he is kind of more transactional, and then you see the shift, which is kind of this level here, kind of that I kind of interact with my environment. But then where's this shift to the empathic level? You remember kind of where at one moment he is turning around and opening his arms and giving all his attention to Placido Domingo, to the tenor. And you can see how the emotional connection is building up. It's not only here, it's kind of here. You see the direct emotional connection building up. And then, I don't know whether you remember, shortly after that, it's this. He is dropping the baton. Think about that. What does it mean that if, as a conductor, you're dropping the baton? As a conductor, I get my paycheck for doing this. He is dropping the baton, and that means it's a radical statement that says it's not about me. It's about something else. It's about something else that is about to come into the world and that I'm in service of. Now, I don't know about you. I'm not a musician. I can't judge any of that, but I have been in that situation many times. I have seen these shifts in groups many times. What does it take to help a group to access that deeper level of knowing? It's exactly what he did. When you put yourself in the center and kind of you talk everyone to death, there's no way you will bring a group to the fourth level. However, what he did is he is pulling himself out of the center. He is going to the periphery and holding the space. It's like this. So he's pulling himself out of the center and he is going all the way to the periphery, and there he's holding the space. He's holding the space for something that isn't quite there yet to come into reality. And all of you who have ever been part of a creative process, you know how a creative process works. What's the first thing that happens? Nothing happens. Nothing happens because creativity arrives at the creative breakthrough, arrives at its own schedule. So what do you do as a professional? You hold the space. You hold the space and you can see it. So that all his attention is to create, to hold the space and to pay attention to this emerging moment of music that wasn't quite there yet, but that was about to be born. So he's holding the space, and you see kind of how in that situation, kind of something is building up kind of through Placido Domingo. Kind of you see how that moment of music is landing, is beginning to come into reality. And that's where you see the baton going back up, connecting with the orchestra, in order to then take the whole orchestra to move this emerging moment of music into reality collectively. So that gesture of holding the space and then making yourself an instrument to allow something to land and to come into reality and co-deliver it with collective action, that space and that way of operating is a fourth type of paying attention, of listening. That is not downloading. It's not operating from here, obviously. It's not factual listening. I am here, you are there, we have a transactional relationship. It's not just empathy. It's not just empathizing with another person. But it's a fourth way of relating to and being in the world. That is about holding the space and turning yourself into an instrument for something that is coming into being and that needs you to come into reality more fully, which we saw kind of in this movement here. That's what I call presencing, sensing and actualizing an emerging future possibility. You know, that process of collectively being born here. But it doesn't matter how we call it. What matters is that this is a distinct way of operating that is at the core of dealing with the major challenges of our time that require us to connect with emerging future possibilities not only as an individual, but also collectively. Now, let's watch it again, and then I will give you a quick kind of summary of the Theory U framework.
Viva luz de mi ilusión, sé piadosa con mi amor, porque no sé fingir, porque no sé callar, porque no sé vivir.